Okay, hey everybody, welcome back. It is June 17th, 2023, and it is time for the spring garden tour. So, we're gonna try and go a little fast. We'll see how that goes. But we're gonna start with the raised bed. It is much more busy than previous years. Um, you'll notice this is probably the thing that stands out the most. This is my onion tower. This is all red onions. And basically, I just brought in a bunch of soil and compost, lined the outside of it with straw, just a thin layer of straw on all sides, and planted onion starts into it so they can grow out the side. I've been watering it from the top, and then the rain seems to water it from sides wherever the wind's blowing from. But the greenery is growing really well. Uh, I just need to focus on fertilizing to get those larger uh, onion bulbs. We already got some flowers. I had 2 rows of cilantro in early spring that I planted, and then there's some dill here that is already going to flower soon. This whole row, like I said, there was actually some parsley, cilantro, dill, some tatsoi that is now going to seed, and then some calendulas that, or I already picked one, put in the dehydrator to be used later. Then a couple of Swiss chard. The main Swiss chards are right here, next to the strawberries. And of course, I ate some strawberries this morning, but there we go. We still have a few hanging around. That one's got a day or so to go. And then the last thing to note about this is the rows of cucumbers. I did a Grex planting of cucumbers, so a lot of different varieties, and we will see who enjoys growing here and wants to produce, and I'll save some seeds. And I'm right next to the pepper garden as usual. This year is pretty interesting, I have to say. A lot of new pepper varieties, from mole peppers to no heat habaneros, no heat Tabasco peppers, um, a couple of my own creation or happenstance creation with a, let's see, where are we? We've got the Reaper Charapita cross. We've got a few of those, and that's an Ahi Charapita and a Carolina Reaper. This is their F2 generation. Of course, my early Carolina Reapers, the plant that produced first last year, I saved seeds from that individual and planted those out again. Um, and yeah, we'll talk about those more when there's peppers on the plants. And then over here, I have, it's a bit of a mess over there. It's my small nursery, but I have a bunch of rhubarb from seed over there in the middle of the screen, you can see. Here, our compost cage, which is looking pretty cool right now. I actually am kind of doing a Johnson Sioux, but of course I don't have um, the sides covered, so that's going to be a little bit different. But I've planted butternut squash into the sides, as well as oats and wheat as a sort of cover crop. And so the oats and wheat are going to pretty much be gone pretty soon. I see some of them are already producing seed, but the goal is for the the squash to grow out of the cage. They'll eventually be thinned down to the strongest few. I'm thinking like 6, but that might be pushing it. But this is all compost, and I do have the top haphazardly tarped with I can't remember the name of it, burlap. But yeah, so that's the goal, is to help me improve my squash production, because all of the seeds from these came out of the one plant that came out of my compost last year that produced five fruits. So the goal is more squash if I can. Okay, and then here, these two flowering individuals here are earth chestnut that I honestly did not know I had. They're from planting 2, maybe 3 years ago, and they're finally looking big and doing good. I've never dug up the roots or tubers. I don't even know what to call them, but they're a perennial in the carrot family, from, I believe, Europe. And then in between them, you can see these are all Caucasian mountain spinach, which is a vining edible leaf from the Caucasus that I started from seed this year and am trying to get to grow up this trellis here. And then I slid in some kale here because this is probably the shadiest part of the garden, and during the summer I want them to stay tasting pretty good. This bed, if I can back up, is a new project of mine I'm very interested in. You can see from this angle, it's a very mounded bed and a dug in pathway. And the goal with that is to maximize space. So not all of them have come up, and not all of them might, and I'll probably have to reseed, but I have rows of beans along the edges and then along the top, and I'm sure this might be the result of some rabbits, but we'll see. I'll just replant and keep an eye on everything. And then in the middle I have some dill, and on the sides, very hard to see from this side, but here we've got some Tulsi in a couple of rows here. We'll see what comes up from that side. From what I can remember, this side had some more Tulsi. There's a couple of little babies, so I'll just keep weeding around them and be hopeful. The back, as usual, is all peas. I have covered all of the weedy walkway surface with more burlap, and that seems to be working really well for me. We've got the kohlrabi, which has been doing really well since the past rain. Got a couple of plants doubled up, but there's already some swelling at the bases of some of these plants. Not a ton yet, but this is the Super Shorts variety, and yeah, I'll let them grow like the whole season. Right next to us, I'll go backwards, we've got 2 rows of cilantro, we've got a row of beets, and then we've got my experimental row of carrots with some amaranth coming up in between, which I'm just gonna leave. I think they look cool. But yeah, the experimental row of carrots is another Grex, so it's as many different varieties of carrots that I like, that I've grown out, and then I let either all of them or the ones with the largest roots go to seed. I saved seed, and then I planted the seeds out again. I've already thinned some of these, so the germination rate was fantastic. But we'll see what they produce. Back to the peas, just to say, these are, the majority of them are the Glenorchy yellow potted peas, and then the rest of them should be the Hawaiian sugar peas or something like that. So both of those are from my trip to New Zealand and then my layover in Hawaii. So that's kind of cool. I like that. The rest of the garden, back garden at least, is garlic. There's one little row of cilantro, and then some shallots as well. I have the Pyongyang garlic. they're a red shallot. I mean, all shallots are red, I think. I'm not certain. And then I think it's German white is the other garlic. But they're growing really well. I probably won't do pine needles as my my mulch next year, just because I tried fertilizing with extra rabbit food, and all of the oats ended up growing. So I won't be doing that again. I'll probably go for a straw, which I've just put those down in the front. Yeah, we'll see. It's just I use what I've got. But in the front of the garden, I've got horseradish on either side, and then this is the green ayote squash, which is a Cucurbita moschata in the butternut family. But it has green flesh, and it's supposed to taste when cooked like candied spinach. So I'm intrigued. The other three here, 3 beds, these are a different butternut squash from either this one or the cage here. These 3 are actually another Grex from a breeding project. It was out of Missouri. I can't remember the name. Ozark Mountain. Is Ozark Mountain something? But as a fantastic Grex that is bred to be resistant to squash bug and just be vigorous, and they have a lot of diversity. I'm really excited about that. Oh, little pit stop. You can see these straw bales that I've left here have some mushrooms growing out of them. So that's pretty cool. We'll finish up real quick. You can see the grapes are looking fantastic. Sunchokes. These are the carrots that I dug up from last year to bring over here to flower. So I just dedicated an entire raised bed to flowering carrots. And I'll probably do that every year. I'll pick my favorites, and I'll bring them over here to flower, so then I can replant the other part of the garden. Then we have basil. I want to say it's like I have like 5 types of basil this year. Prospera, Genovese, dark purple opal, something, Ready Freddy, stuff like that. I've got a crimson clover area over here. I know it's called like Bee's Friend and Facelica. Here's a good picture. This is native to the western U.S., but it's an annual, and yeah, the bees seem to like it, and I think it's pretty. Got my hedge of sunchokes by my trellis, and then the pond area has new sweet potatoes by these pots, and most of them are started from seed. These 2 are not started from seed, or one of them might be. Yeah, but I've got 6 plants that are started from seed, and I'm hoping to see flowers, but also seeds. I hope that at least one of them will flower at the same time as another, so I can save seeds from them and have my own varieties. Real quick, I can try and show the tomatoes, but then that's, well, yeah. So we've got a tomato in with the lemon balm, a hops plant. Actually, I've got a native prickly pear right here, and then the tomatoes, I'm going for a lot of paste tomatoes this year, so San Marzano, Amish paste. This is a slicer called Wisconsin 55. I've sprayed them all with diatomaceous earth because I had extra laying around, and at the end of the day this gets very, very bright, so especially when they're young I try and reduce the light on them. We've still got some Joseph Lofthouse Wilding tomatoes, as well as his Brad tomato. Here are the San Marzanos. What else do we have laying around? Amish paste, Manitoba, another Wisconsin 55. So that's pretty exciting. I left the parsley to attract beneficial insects, and then once they're done, then the tomatoes can take over. Up in the front, I transplanted my spiderwort, my Ohio spiderwort, up here. And pretty cool. I'll try and get more native stuff in here. We still have daylilies and other lilies, but a lot of milkweeds. But I guess may as well do the rest of the front yard while we're at it. I wood chipped this area and have tiny little bush zinnias popping up. They're still kicking. I think I only planted them like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Got our mountain mint, which are fantastic for pollinators. A couple of new things. I'm working on planting more native stuff. So wild petunia. I won't talk about this too much, but I've got liatris here. I've got a false white indigo. The arbor is the trumpet vine. Stuff like that. But this bed I am particularly proud of this year because all of this sweet alyssum, or this alyssum, was started from seed. I started all of them from seed. I transplanted all of them in, and you can tell these ones look a little bit weaker because they were planted 1 week later. So these ones had an extra week of growing time in the ground, and they're significantly better off right now. That's pretty neat. More basil, peppers. There's some marigolds, some cosmos, and then I've got a rootstock plum, which I want to graft on eventually. The fig tree, these beautiful yarrow, these ones should be yellow. My Louisa plum, which is a Japanese plum. And then the peach. Not a crazy amount of fruit, but also good because it's not going to weigh down the tree nearly as much as it did last year. I mean, still quite productive, I would say. This is worth mentioning. The ARP rosemary made it through the winter, is putting on new growth, and smells amazing. Lavender. And still working on this area, but the native passion fruit are already working their way up the trellises, so that's awesome. And then the bitter orange, the Pond Citrus trifoliata. Again, I sprayed that down just to it helps me track the growth. You can see this is all new growth. But I also just have extra when I spray the peach tree. So yeah, that about does it. I'll keep you guys updated with another post probably when the peppers are producing. So thanks for watching.